Hello, I'm Nasha Haider from Innotech Consultants. I have just found out some news from our guest today that I'd like to share with you. Imagine it's Monday morning in a mid-sized company. Sales is on one app, finance is on another, and operations uses another platform. None of them talk to each other. Someone in the boardroom has just bought 3 AI tools to fix the problem. 6 months later, unfortunately, nothing's better. Our guest, Martin Gents, saw this story play out 100 times. So he founded UseKase and they built the business operating system. One place where the work, the data, and the AI live together. The business-first platform for how mid-sized companies compete in the era of AI. Martin has spent more than 20 years working in management consulting companies before starting UseKase. What he's building now is basically to fix the problems for everything he's watched that's gone wrong before. I think you'll find this conversation very practical, very honest, and perhaps a little bit provocative. So with that, I'd like to welcome Martin Gents to the show. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
It's great to be here, Nasha. Thank you so much. And I didn't know you were going to share that introduction. Is almost taking my thunder away, but it's good to be here.
Lovely to have you here with us. I just find it really fascinating. You've spent 20 years in management consulting, in digital consulting as well. So what made you decide to actually build UseKase?
It was less of one big decision and more a combination of patterns that I'd seen play out over and over again over many, many years. You know, in management consulting, we deliver amazing insights and advice. We bring leadership together around an aspiration. We align the team. We create an operating model for a transformation of sorts to happen. And then we bring in the right partners and the technologies in order to get that work done. And then we leave. Why? Because the model itself doesn't invite us to stay for the full transformation. The mere fact that we're there ruins the business case because of the fees, because of, well, essentially the model. It doesn't allow for us to stay the length of that duration. And as part of that as well, we're not in management consulting traditionally able to combine product and service. It's very much a service-based model providing advisory. And so outside of simply the model and the patterns that I've seen play out over and over again, gave me, should we say, a wish for more, a wish to be able to do more and lean into something that I found to be much more valuable. I had personal, motivations as well. You know, it wasn't my name on the door, and the thrill of the adventure as well in entrepreneurship. So all of this coming together helped me to get to that realization of creating a company that would take the best that I knew from the strategy houses of management consulting, but then package it in a way where we could address what I call the 98% of businesses. That is the mid-market, where we still take the best from that playbook, but we're able to package it in ways that are truly meaningful and attractive to the companies that have traditionally been left to their own devices by traditional service providers.
Right. And was there a moment where you realized that AI is becoming so important that you can't ignore this anymore? So hence you've included that as part of the platform.
Yes, so absolutely. I mean, technology is now becoming like water,
Yes.
right? It's everywhere. And it's no longer becoming the obstacle to transformation. That allows us to do a myriad of different things. But what we actually have seen over the past few years is a failure to adopt these technologies meaningfully, especially in the mid-market. The enterprises, again, the top 2%, had it not easy, but they had better predispositions in being able to have budget, risk appetite, and to a certain extent the capabilities and the competencies to lean into such a transformation. But the mid-market doesn't have that luxury. And so what we've seen happen over the past many years is a tool acquisition like never before. We have tools in marketing and in sales and in HR and finance, just like you introduced, that we spoke about before this recording, but they don't talk to each other.
Correct.
You know, what we used to call shadow IT in an enterprise setting, whereby the marketing CMO went out there and bought a technology solution just for marketing because he couldn't wait for IT to approve a central system. You know, these problems are, to a large extent, accelerated or even deeper felt in smaller businesses, where there is a lack of competence and capability very often. And so this fragmented tool landscape has ultimately failed on what I jokingly like to say, that AI was supposed to take work away from us, but it's done the opposite. It's given us more mental overload. It has caused change fatigue and a lot of fear in our organizations. And ultimately, this is the number one issue we're trying to address with the business operating system and how we're packaging strategy, building, and change enablement and training into one company, which is UseKase.
Fantastic. It's a great opportunity to sort of specific problems have specific solutions. So what it leads on to is like, what type of specific problems is UseKase trying to solve for businesses?
Right.
I mean, could you give us a use case, perhaps?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I would
yeah.
love to. And ultimately, why we start with strategy with all of our clients is because no business is, there is not a single thing that will be fitting every single company out there. Everyone is different, a little bit. But there are commonalities, right? So we always start with strategy to understand the business and understand where is the business going. Based on where the business is going, and often this starts with a conversation with the CEO or the COO, the one who is the closest to the operating model and who can see the difference between where the business is and where it wants to be. That has to be the starting point for us to understand what are the use cases that would be the most impactful for that business in where they are in their existence and in their journey. But what we can certainly say in terms of a common denominator is that for most businesses, it starts with automating or augmenting the piece of work or the area of the business that they know the best.
Correct. Yeah.
Where they can see that it's a primary contributor to the impact that they're hoping to enjoy as an organization, but ultimately also there where, because of the volume of the work, because of the needed impact from that, should we say, productivity that happens in that area of the business, we have a real impact case for the change. We have a case for change. We have an opportunity to work with real numbers, real problems that are deeply felt in the business, and apply the technologies to them, to that space. Why is that important? It's important because we need to move from experimentation and curiosity into having AI adopted into our workflows in our day-to-day. To get a license to play in those areas, we need to make sure that we're addressing something that is important, that has a financial impact and outcome. We call it an ember. We want to identify an ember that can help create a fire within the organization, a willingness to let go of the fear, let go of the change fatigue, and lean in to an initiative because the people and the leaders in that space can see that it will deliver bottom line improvements or increased customer expectations, or not customer experience, right? So all of these things come together mean we are identifying the right issues, we're addressing them with real solutions, not experiments. And because we're encompassing both strategy and build and training, we're able to deliver results in days and weeks instead of months. And so that's ultimately our approach and where we are trying to make a difference.
Fantastic. It just sounds very structured in models. What I mean is, so you're working a lot with SMEs.
Yes.
And so who gets the most value from this work? Is it the leadership team? Or do you say the individual professionals who are within teams are getting that advantage by using your models?
Yeah. So ultimately, over time, everyone benefits in their own way. I think with those initial conversations that I have all the time with CEOs and COOs and CMOs, by sharing or creating a shared understanding of what is possible with these technologies and the specific use cases. I'm talking a lot with executives around how to improve sales, for example. So there are multiple use cases within sales where, for example, one of the most debated tools on the planet is CRM, and how little sales associates in the workforce are really enjoying filling out manually, contacts and company information. And now we have a real opportunity as one use case to have our agents work for us, research contacts, research companies, and automatically fill out the details and the data that is needed to make sure that we have a good foundational insight. And then resurface that and remind the sales force when they should reach out to a contact because it's been too long since the last contact, or prepare a response for an open opportunity that might need a nudge, right? And so this is obviously something that is enticing to leadership because it brings adoption, it brings insights, it becomes not just a tool, but something that everyone will enjoy having access to. Even the sales associates will enjoy being able to be more or to spend more time with their contacts and the companies and the clients that they're serving than maintaining and doing admin work. So this is an area where automation is all of a sudden a positive conversation. And so the leadership might get the first aha with the opportunity that this is possible. We bring it into the business operating system because it allows us to bring everything together in one place, like you said in the introduction, the data, the AI, the applications. And because everything is in one place, it truly has an opportunity to lift us up in the organization. But it certainly is a benefit to the individual as well in being able to spend that time with our clients and enjoy the benefits. So all enjoy.
And it motivates the sales team, it motivates the operations team because they have a deeper insight about a client whom they may not know too much about in the first instance.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I had a conversation with a client prospect last week who said, imagine if marketing and branding and sales and finance was all integrated. Imagine the insights you would be able to have with regards to buyer sentiment, avoiding churn with our clients or members. My client prospect, my contact, just leaned back in the chair and said, that's the dream, Martin. I would love to get that. I say, all right, well, then let's thankfully on the next slide that I was showing him, I had the mock-up of the solution based on the business operating system, and it changes the conversation completely.
That's fantastic. So this is practical AI, not hype, because there's actually a lot of hype out there as well. So you describe your work as making AI transformation accessible. So what does accessible mean for you personally?
Yeah, I think it comes down to three things. And it's speed, it is ownership, and then it is cost, or simply being able to afford what we're bringing to market. And so if we start with speed, I said before that technology has become like water, right? So technology is no longer the blocker for us. Actually, it's organizational enablement and adoption. That's the blocker. And we'll dig more into that, I think, in later on. But speed is about really understanding how we are able to deliver a journey for our clients. And this is probably where we spend the most time, to be honest. How can we lay out a journey for our clients that's not just a strategy deck and a roadmap, but where we in the first week are delivering high value while we're planning out the business operating system foundation for our clients that ultimately will deliver the use cases and the automations that we spoke about, right? And so because we are combining training in individual tools that can enable teams and the individuals around the organization to be extremely productive and valuable in the day-to-day and see an instant return from that. With strategy, meaning we are identifying the right use cases that gives the company exactly what they need to support to reach their objectives, and then the build, which has a slower start until we know exactly what to build, we have the platform ready and so on. These things, when they're all laid out elegantly together, helps the clients to lean in to a journey that feels valuable from the very beginning, but only accelerates as the weeks and the months go by. And so I think this is crucial, and speed allows us to do that. Then maybe taking price first. The fact that technology has now become a commodity, and the fact that we're combining this product thinking with service allows us to offer a pricing point that is truly attractive for the 90% of businesses that were left to their own devices before, and enjoy adopting enterprise-grade tools without that hefty price attached to it, right? So it makes an incredible difference. And so pricing is two, or cost is two. The last one is ownership. Now, all of us that are following the news are seeing the geopolitical shifting winds and tensions around the world. And it has caused over the last 2-3 months my conversations with clients and prospects to change.
Yes.
It's not about political unrest, or it's not about technology choices and so on. It's more about independence and resilience. If I own the building that my company is housed in, if I own the machinery in my production shop floor, why shouldn't I also not own the technology stack that drives my business, that gives me the capabilities to actually have a throughput from input to output in my business? And I think it's dawning on a lot of organizations, and most conversations that I'm having with CEOs are resonating with this, is they are seeking independence from external software providers, external services providers, and feel a need and an urge to have independence, but also to be able to be resilient if conditions changed or changes. So as a business, and especially in the mid-market and smaller companies, if Google or Microsoft or Amazon, if they overnight changes their cost structure, you are powerless. But if you have built your technology stack, the tools and the integrations and the AI that allow you to do the best work you've ever done as an organization, and you could essentially cut off the internet and still run that, that's the kind of independence that a lot of the CXOs that I'm speaking with are longing to have.
That's very ambitious, though, I must say.
And it'll take time to get there, but
Yes.
the conversation has shifted from one that has to do with getting tools and getting AI, whatever that AI is, to now feeling more ownership or a need for more ownership of what is being built is also what they should own over time. And so you could say, to simplify, there's a shift in mindset from buying to making, or at least making sure that what we are buying becomes something that we can enhance and continually build and operate over time.
Fantastic, because small SMEs have different needs in comparison to larger enterprises. And you have specific use cases which are perhaps completely different to what's required in a bigger, larger entity.
Yes.
Yes. So what do most companies get wrong when they're starting to explore AI?
Yeah.
That's the next question.
So
which
I I touched on it a little bit already, right? I think the companies that go wrong treat AI, or at least the provisioning of capabilities and technologies in the era of AI, as a technology problem. It's not. It's an organizational question. And it calls for a different way of operating. It calls for a different conversation to be had. When I work with clients who are unsure of where to start, we do what we call Ignite. It's a workshop of sorts that brings the leadership together to understand what is happening in the market, specifically that relates to them as an organization. What technologies have become available, what are our peers or our competitors doing, and ultimately how big is the gap between what we could do, what we want to do, and how difficult or easy it would be for us to then starting to use or adopt those solutions inside the fabric of our organization. And so it starts with a conversation around not just value and feasibility, but also there's a dimension of risk, because I think the biggest change or difference between enterprise organizations and mid-market and smaller organizations comes down to risk appetite as well, and capacity. How much can we take on? And so that then comes down to, if we're hit by change fatigue and tool overload, right? Then we need to work with leadership to understand, instead of just pushing another tool into this company, let's create a movement or a plan for how we bring things together, how we aggregate their application landscape and the data that they have in, and ultimately create the agents that will help ease the pressure of our workforce. Not to engage the fear in that organization, but simply to ensure that the promise of AI, of augmenting and lifting and helping us to scale wherever it might be across the company, that is realized.
Okay, great. So this leads to something to do with sort of culture. What's the biggest barrier to AI adoption in terms of culture? I mean, a lot of leaders may think, okay, we do want to move forward with AI, but they move into AI because of curiosity, but then they don't really action it. It doesn't get executed.
Yes.
So how do you think that cultural mindset change is coming about, especially in Southeast Asia, where we're operating?
Okay, so a couple of things and reflections on what I've seen. And I have the pleasure of doing a lot of public speaking, and it's an incredibly valuable thing for me, because outside of connecting with my audience and seeing that as a way of brand positioning and marketing and so on, it's also a continuous learning loop.
Yes.
Right? It helps me to get validation for our point of view, how our product is seen, and so on. And I think I started a keynote a couple of weeks ago with, a big issue that we are seeing with culture in organizations today, and I'll get back to also some positive things in that regard, but one of the things that I am seeing is that we have a lot of executives in organizations still that are saying, we want AI, and then they, and we want it now. And what do we want it for? We don't know.
Yes.
But we need it yesterday, right? And so the leadership, whether we want it or not, are really the landing point for anything and everything that we do with AI. If we need to build an understanding and a literacy with the executive leadership, so that they understand what it is that they're looking for, what they need to champion and bring their commitment to. Because the initiatives in AI that ultimately win are the ones that have adequate sponsorship from leadership. So it has to start there. We do training of executives, and we do a lot of work to align the different members of the executive team to cross over the first barrier, which is to ensure that we don't have different agendas at play. Ultimately, selling the idea of the business operating system to the CEO or the COO is a great first step. But then we need to make sure that we're also getting the functional heads on board. Whoever's in marketing, whoever's in HR, whoever's in sales, they need to get the light together as a team and lean into this. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And so there are a number of different obstacles that we need to cross over as we're working with our clients on these solutions. But it starts with leadership getting that aha themselves, so they can be, carrying the banner and changing the culture of how do we see AI, how do we talk about AI, speaking openly about what are our aspirations with AI, so that we change the conversation from being one that's based on rumors and instead one that's built on openness and transparency and aligned direction. And so the last thing I will then say, and that's the benefit, I think, of businesses and the way that businesses are typically run here in Southeast Asia, is that there's a lot of power in the executive suite. In the Nordics, where I come from, if not everyone agrees, then we're not going to do it, right?
Okay.
But here, the CEO or the COO, if there's a decision that's made, that's the direction that we're going in. And some will say that is a drawback, but actually when it comes to AI adoption, if to get the opportunity to show the value before it becomes a collective brainstorming exercise around the pros and the cons and the fears and the worries, because we can show value so quickly, getting that green card to go in and actually show that value and deliver on a specific focused use case in days or weeks, that is an incredibly powerful way to start a journey like the one that we're proposing. And once you have the trust, that then becomes the determining factor. Once you have the trust with your clients and they make that call, then actually the next parts of that journey, the first parts of that journey, become a lot easier compared to what I'm used to from back home.
Okay, that's interesting. So you're saying that it's more flexible mindset in Southeast Asia.
Yes, and there's a lot of power behind decisions being made.
Fantastic.
And a lot of willingness and intent to follow through on decisions being made.
That's fantastic. So the next question is about building a business. So what have been the biggest lessons for you in building UseKase from the ground up?
Yeah, I think the first and biggest lesson has to do with clarity.
Mm-hmm.
When you're building from scratch, there is no way that you can afford to be vague, right? As a management consultant, I could go into any room and I could win over the room and land the client and be great. But as a founder and as a new business starting from scratch, I have to be useful in the market. And not only do I need to brand my product, build my product, sell my product, I also have to deliver my product, maintain the product, train my clients in the product, all while running the business along the way. And so it's a massive shift between the two. And so clarity is everything. And coherence between what it is that you say, what it is that you promise, and what you actually deliver. Which is why, arguably after 2 years, it took us a while to get to the point where the story and the product and the value that we're bringing to the market has now reached that level of clarity that it needs to have, with its usefulness having been proven to the extent that we needed it to be, that we're now ready to have conversations like ours right now and push on that product to get it out there to the 98% of the business to truly enjoy it. And so it's a long and it's a humbling journey, but it's also an incredibly valuable one. And I think as you can imagine, there are challenges and lessons across everything that I just shared, from building a product instead of building a service or going out there and selling a service. It's a very, very different operating model. With a product, you have to maintain it and offer service level agreements to your clients. There is no such thing as leaving the product behind for a couple of weeks and going out there and doing a lot of keynotes, right? It always has to be working. Uptime is a real requirement. Not only that, innovation is also a massive pressure. You can't be in a situation where one of your clients comes and says, why don't I have this bell or this whistle in my product? I have to have an answer for that at all times. And so staying on top of all of the technology advancements, building them into my product, and then marketing that and delivering it and maintaining it and ultimately handing it over to our clients is something that is an ongoing journey. And I won't say that I have mastered it yet, but it's certainly one where we have finally come to, because of all of those lessons, come to a place of clarity.
Fantastic. That's really great. The learning journey is enormous, and then there's also iterations of the platforms according to your customers' needs.
Correct.
Which is an ongoing process beyond that, certainly.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest selling points that I have when I get a one-on-one with a CEO is that I draw a very, very simple shape for him or her, which is essentially recognizing that their business is not square.
Yes.
Right? It has grown from a nucleus, turned into an organic shape, a market entry there, a new capability there, a product and a service there. As we know, any business will evolve. And then I draw two squares. One small square that doesn't cover the entire shape, and one bigger square that covers more than the shape itself. Why? Because when it comes to technology supporting our business, the mid-sized businesses have been left to their own devices with solutions that either did not support the business enough, meaning these companies had to close that gap through manual workarounds, Excel sheets, and stressed key employees that had the insight to get work done when there were fires everywhere, right? We all know that situation.
Yes.
Or the opposite, where they are feeling so much pressure from being exposed to some of the same complexities as larger enterprises, but they're just not that size, to having purchased or acquired enterprise-grade platforms like Salesforce or Microsoft or Google that are doing 1,000 things, but where they only need 100 of them. And so they're overpaying for enterprise platforms, or they're suffering from the lack of capability support from smaller platforms or individual tools. And we now have an opportunity with the product and the service that we're delivering to the market to finally, and this is the aha moment where I draw a line that is perfectly aligned to the organic shape of the organization. I say, this is what we want to do with you. And it might start from a standard platform foundation and standard templates of agents and applications, allowing us to deliver on that mantra that we call 50% done on day one, because we start from scratch with you, because if we did, we would have to overprice it. So we're well prepared from home, right? But the remaining 50%, your solution is shaped perfectly to your business. And because we recognize that your business will never stay static, as part of that build and delivery process, we're also preparing for you to not only take the keys, but to enhance, co-build, and ultimately take over completely the future building and operations of your own platform, thereby writing us out of the equation and getting what I feel every single organization should have, the capability to own and operate their own technology solution.
Fantastic. I mean, it's fabulous. So you organically grow with the iterations, and you learn through your trainings. You sort of create that organic growth for the team as well.
Correct.
Because they are learning the capabilities to build themselves.
Yes.
Eventually.
But it doesn't start there.
Yeah.
No business goes from having had no technology or building capability to all of a sudden managing 12 modules that cover the entire business end to end, right? With agentic capabilities on top. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yes.
And so we take our clients on a journey where we build first, then we instruct, then we teach, then we co-build,
Yes.
then they enhance, then they build, and we watch, and then we hand them the keys in that order, right? And so it changes the conversation from being a traditional buyer-provider conversation to one where we're truly partnering on equipping them with the capabilities to compete in the era of AI. And the beautiful thing is that it's visible throughout. It is visible in the training we do every single week. It's visible in the applications and the agents that we're deploying in your home, the business operating system. And because we are bringing in strategic competencies from our team as well, we're able to work with the simple acknowledgement that your business doesn't stay still. So the support you need today is not the same that you need in 3 months' time. You might acquire a company. You might choose a new market to enter into. And so you're not static. Your solution should not be static. We need to prepare you for the next curve, the next shift. And we would love to stay with you with it, but we're also preparing you to take more ownership yourself.
And empowering the customer to
Exactly.
develop themselves.
Empowering them to ultimately take the keys.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. I mean, and with that, you're promoting a lot of this through public speaking.
Correct.
I mean, I've heard some of your speaking in conferences, and you're reaching a large audience. Could you share with us, like, how has this speaking changed your sort of influence or your mindset thinking? How has that evolved over, say, the past couple of years?
You know, it's actually 12 months ago that I had my first real speaking engagement for an association here in Singapore. And the title of my talk was actually the Business Operating System of 2030, a prediction.
Okay, cool.
And I didn't realize at the time that was the product that we were going to ultimately be building. So if I'm not wrong, it was about exactly this week last year that I gave that talk, and now I'm here with you talking about it, which is incredible. So public speaking for me has been something that I think I started doing because I knew it was valuable to have founder-led branding and marketing, right? For the founder to go in front and push the narrative, share the story, our point of view, and ultimately establish a positioning of UseKase in the market. That was where it started. And we have certainly been extremely fortunate on that journey to be invited in, and on average I speak once a week in different constellations. I've had the pleasure of speaking to more than 750 students, I think, across different universities in Singapore. And that has been extremely valuable also to our work with investors and of course work with clients. But it has grown from being something that was about brand positioning and something around marketing and lead generation to being a feedback loop, to being an opportunity for us to validate that everything that we were doing was right or wrong and navigate and calibrate based on that. And so more than seeking influence on, let's say, a static idea, it has been a way for me and for us to have an ongoing conversation with our audience, being clearer. So again, back to clarity, being clearer on what is it that we're intending to do, how is it perceived, what are the keywords that resonate with our audiences, and how does that differ from young professionals to senior executives. And ultimately, to your question before, how is the value perceived differently from individuals to small and medium-sized enterprises to professionals and large organizations? And it ultimately got us to this convergence of the strategy build and training concept that we now have in UseKase. And so it continues to being truly valuable to us in not just obtaining that clarity, but also to stay true to it and have it evolve with us over time.
Excellent. Really excellent. Thank you for this. I am really, really interested to find your take on AI in the real world. Because you've got that use case. I know you can't really share too much about private companies that you're dealing with, but what is one AI use case that business leaders should adopt now, and one that they probably should ignore for the moment? Are there pros and cons for each? Could you share perhaps a use case that's...
So again, no two businesses are the same. I mentioned early on that one of the more powerful use cases that we're seeing is within sales and marketing, simply because by now, it was one of the first use cases getting pushed after ChatGPT. All of a sudden we had, text to text, text to images, text to video. So it was a lot about generating content. What's great for content? Marketing and branding, right? And so it started with marketing. With content becoming so rich, it moved into, and more accurate, less hallucinations. It moved into sales, allowing our sales force to be better prepared for upcoming meetings. One of the biggest ahas is waking up in the morning, or for our clients, and even for ourselves, because we're also, of course, using and have been using for many months now our own business operating system. Waking up in the morning and getting a fresh update about a contact that I'm not directly in contact with in the day-to-day, saying, oh, this person wrote this on this social media page, has announced this new update for their company, and all of that is served for me with a proposed email to say, hey, congratulations, that's an amazing achievement, why don't we have a coffee soon? And so Would I reach out to that contact otherwise? Maybe, maybe not. But as I shared before, there's certainly enough work to do as a founder and CEO pushing a product and building a company from scratch, that AI in this case truly helps me and helps our clients to ultimately scale and have wider reach because of these solutions now speaking together and being integrated. Now, so this is where the use cases, I think, should start for a lot of our clients. And it's because it's work that they know.
Yes.
It is the processes that are mature. It is where there's great impact from even just few percentages of improvement, right? And we're often talking about 20, 30% of marginal improvement in the areas where we introduce the first use cases into the business operating platform. And that is not small. That is massive improvement, right? So that's typically where we start. Where I would say companies should still look to avoid deploying AI, at least for the time being still, is areas of the business that are more vague. Where, and especially when it comes to then deploying autonomous AI into those areas. Many organizations are going very bullish into customer service or sales outreach with bots. And we've all experienced
Yes, we all have experienced
the flooding of outreach messages in our LinkedIn inboxes, and no one wants that. So we're getting fatigue from slob, from AI, if I should put a negative spin on that. And so I would much rather work with our clients on augmenting truly human, high quality processes, enabling senior sales associates to be better prepared and have more meaningful human conversations with their counterparts that are well prepared and can be delivered at more scale because of these technologies, than to try and fully automate something over there in the corner that we care less about, or which is less defined.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. And perhaps also with HR,
Yes.
that's another area where maybe it should be more personalized towards the person. I don't know if you're creating any agents for the HR role.
HR is probably the heaviest debated area of use cases when it comes to AI. And I mean, there are examples of companies that are using AI to staff millions of roles every year. You know, the large franchise-based organizations where job is standardized and the need is truly in the millions. There, AI can make a meaningful impact in making sure that we get the right people or the right volume of people for the right jobs. But when it comes to hiring an executive, I would still go, old-fashioned, inviting them in, have a meaningful conversation, looking them in the eye, being sure that it's not an avatar in front, right? And so it is really contextual. But certainly in AI, if you look, in HR, certainly if you look in HR across all of the tasks and the jobs that are to be done in a people organization, there are many use cases to be found that meaningfully take administrative work out and allows for more processes that I truly personally believe that HR was put in this world to deliver, which was to care for the humans in our organizations, having those one-on-ones, caring about talent development, and also caring about the split between what is AI doing for us and what are our people doing for us, and finding a way to have that hybrid organization work together efficiently.
That is excellent. That's how it should be. But whether that's really happening in practice is a different matter in the real world.
Yes, and so there's a lot of trial and error happening out there. But I would say when it comes to people, and again, this we started by saying that this is a people problem. It's a people conversation. It's not a technology conversation. Maybe don't start with doing salary negotiations for your employees autonomously, right? Show
Yes.
care. But take away the parts of the work that should be automated, that has zero value add, that has nothing to do with people, so that you win back time to ultimately lift your people organization up and take care of your talent. Because what's also happening in this market is that it's never been easier than today to shift jobs and shift directions, and the gig economy is real. And so we have to invest in our people. We have to
Yes.
protect our talent. And ultimately, a way to protect our talent is to automate the parts of the processes that are not value add in that regard.
That's really excellent. Thank you. I'd like to turn the conversation a little bit to personal reflections. So, what has this journey taught you about leadership and about reinventing yourself and staying relevant in such a fast-paced and fast-changing world?
Yeah, I think one thing that I've absolutely learned is that it's not about chasing perfection. It's more around staying oriented in the right direction and building a culture and a movement and a business ultimately that can stay agile and move with those shifts. And then I would say, you know, my reflections on leadership has also changed immensely from where I was to where I am and the journey that I'm still on. I left a very, very safe, predictable environment, lucrative environment in management consulting after so many years. But I ultimately left to build what I deeply believe deserves to exist. And that is something that requires utmost commitment from myself every single day. Because you can't just tell people to do certain things differently and lean into this direction. You have to prove it, you have to live it, you have to show it yourself every single day. And that is both a taxing but also an incredibly valuable journey. And so I think those are some of the key learnings that I've made when it comes to leadership. And you know, I used to jokingly say, coming originally from a family, a multi-entrepreneurial family into consulting, I used to joke saying I could finally relax.
Okay.
Because in the family business, you're always on. It's on work, it's off work, it's on the weekends. In consulting, again, I had my master who was the client, and when I wasn't at the client, then of course there was a little proposal work here and there and some internal work, but I could relax. You know, it wasn't my name on the door, it was someone else's issue, right?
Okay, right. You were
And
part
now-
of the team.
Yes.
Yes.
And now that I have stepped away from both and into my own business, it's ultimately the compounding pressures of both. Creating something that is useful, powerful, acknowledged, and for what we're trying to achieve, premium. And so that is a great undertaking and requires the most leadership I have ever exercised and the most learnings that I've ever dared venture into to acquiring for myself. And so it's an ongoing journey.
And if I dare say, you need a lot of stamina as well.
Yes.
And resilience
Yes.
in this journey too.
And that's a whole topic that I'm happy to go into maybe on
on
the
another
next.
next podcast. Yes, perhaps.
Yes.
And with that, I'd just like to follow up with, like, what's the most exciting aspect that you want to build on to prove about UseKase in the next 12 months,
Yes.
for example?
What's absolutely most on my mind is to bring UseKase and our products to more clients, more partners, and more investors.
Correct.
And we're doing this, even in that area, we are becoming or applying very innovative principles. So we have very, very ambitious targets. You know, when we hit our 100th client on BOS, you're going to see me potentially opening a bottle of champagne. And we're hoping that that will happen this year, which is an ambitious target, but that's very like us. So aim for the moon and land on a high mountain. But what we are doing is we're going in innovative ways, because I think this moment in time deserves also a different way of thinking about the traditional buyer and seller relationship. So we've gone from pitching on individual use cases. That's where the name came from. We were going to be helping businesses realize their potential one use case at a time. But realizing that this journey is not something that can be done overnight. It's about people. It's about weaving in AI, reinventing processes, connecting systems, connecting people. And that takes time. And not every single use case is going to be one that has a big ROI sticker attached to it. Some of the work we're doing is boring, technical, foundational work that is so critical to be able to do all of the fun things that we want to do with the business, right? So in order to have that conversation around a longer journey and still have it be attractive for our clients, we're changing the conversation to instead being one where our clients get the opportunity to co-own or to even invest with us. That means if we're building the perfect business operating system for the vertical in which they as an organization exist and drive and build their business, we could co-own the platform that we're ultimately building over 12 months and together market it towards even third parties, peers, or even competitors, which would offset the risk of the investment as well. But with certain clients, we've even taken it one step further. And if we feel that they have an opportunity to be leading in their space, we invite them to invest in UseKase and get the platform for free. And that completely changes the conversation with our clients from being one where they're buying something for us, where they're calling in procurement, but also where they have to sell everything we bring to them, to everyone inside the organization. But if they invest in us, they want us to succeed. They might even invest resources and capabilities into co-building the solution with us. And we wouldn't allow to have a disgruntled investor in our company. And so we ultimately are very motivated to do an excellent job. And once we've done that excellent job, the clients not only have the platform, they also have the investment in UseKase. And we've even had conversations where we can then go to external investors that are tired of the traditional play, like VCs tired of investing in SaaS companies. And they go to us and they see, oh, we're partnering with a real leader in this space. We're investing effort into building the platform. The client is investing in UseKase to build the platform. What if that investor provided the third ticket to give us enough momentum to make an actual leading attempt at that space in the market? And so these are some of the most exciting conversations that I'm having right now that, if our predictions are true, will give us that scale that I am personally hoping that we will achieve this year, which is truly exciting.
It sounds truly fascinating and really insightful, because I'd like to partner with you for an entity as well, like to empower yourself to create something within marketing and branding.
Oh, amazing.
Which is just fantastic, and also sort of leads on to a next journey, a next sort of journey for perhaps InnoTech consultants. Yes.
Yeah, I would love to have that conversation. And I think what this really boils down to is, you know, simple concepts go a long way.
Yes.
And I think with AI, for the longest time, we've asked the wrong questions. We've expected tools, we've expected AI to take away the parts of our work that we didn't want. And it hasn't. And what we're trying to do with UseKase is to answer to that question. It is to answer to that question of saying, how did this company of 50 people get to provide the output of 500? Those are the use cases. Those are the stories that I'm hoping to be able to share, and where we are going to be bringing UseKase to in the next foreseeable future. And so it really boils down to AI is useless unless you know what to ask of it. And we want to be that partner that is category defining and that helps our clients to making sure that we're asking the right things, but that we're also getting the right answers.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for this wonderful discussion on your journey with UseKase. And I wish you every success.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Martin, for this fascinating conversation. I would like to take this conversation further, that perhaps we could also do something with InnoTech consultants, branding, marketing, AI, UseKase.
I'll be very happy to explore that with you, Nasha.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for joining us for our InnoTech Consultants podcast. Please link in with me, Nasha Haider, on LinkedIn. And please join us next time for more exciting podcasts with health tech, med tech, and technology leaders in Singapore and beyond. Thank you.